We can say whatever we want. All right. And then I'll start us off here. So this season, Shahada has a lot of experience with yoga, fitness, the virtual world with all the stuff going with the pandemic, as well as educator. And I wanted to bring her on. She had very cool different styles of yoga that I've even never heard of, and I've been in the business for 13 years now. So I thought, just like every season, episode 1, we kind of dive into the co-hosts and last 10, 15 years, how you got into the business, what you're passionate about. Just, tell our listeners what's going on. So I'll let you take it away.
Okay. I started out in fitness as a young child. My parents got me involved in movement. I couldn't decide between like gymnastics and dance, and I ended up in dance. This is back in the day when all you had was 4 channels on your television, and the Olympics was like the event of the year.
Epitome, yeah.
Right. So every time I watch the Olympics, I was like, I want to be a gymnast. I want to be a gymnast. But then I realized being a gymnast was really hard, and I didn't really like it. So I started to do other things with movement, mostly expression in forms of dance, which is kind of how I got in touch with my body at an early age. Around 14 was really when I was like, oh, I really like this. Like, this is something I really want to do. And then, of course, I went through high school, went to college, gained a bunch of weight. Totally forgot about movement, totally forgot about everything, and then left college and realized that the body that I had was at 14, I no longer had at 21, and I didn't understand it. So I started moving again, and I did what everybody does when they try to dive back in. I hit the gym like
7 days a week.
Like just insane, just lifting all kinds of weights and running 5 days a week. I just tore my body up, just shredded it in the worst possible way because I didn't have any direction, didn't really care. It was just like, get in shape, get in shape, get in shape. Personal trainers, I must have given them a heart attack because they used to approach me and say, hey, would you like some help? Nope, I got it. I go grab the 50-pound dumbbells and just do something wild with it. They're probably thinking this girl's going to kill herself.
Rip it. That was the old school style.
Yeah, it's just my thing. About 2 years into that madness, I used to have such trouble with shin splints because I would run really hard on hard surfaces. Like, it wasn't just me on the treadmill. It was me running through the city, running on sand, really not wearing the right shoes, all of that stuff. It didn't matter. It was just like, get in shape at any cost. And I wandered into a yoga class that was on like Sunday mornings about the time I was done running. I was like, oh, this is interesting. Let me come here. Let me do this. I go in there and I was devastated. I couldn't bend forward. Forget touching my toes. Just bending over was like, what? And I'm in my 20s at this point, and there are people in their 40s, and they're putting their legs behind their heads, which is incredibly offensive to a 20-year-old. Why can't I do this? What is the problem?
Different style.
And they were always so relaxed and comfortable in their bodies, and they were just like, oh, it's fine, it'll come. And for me, everything was a competition. So I'm just pushing. And I had this fantastic teacher. I will never forget her. Her name was Tessa. And she used to say, wherever you are, it's enough. And I hated it at first because I was like, never enough. Go harder, go harder, go harder. But then it started to kind of sink in, like, you need to stop and take a breath and take your time. And once I started doing that, my body started responding. Yoga is not something that you can beat your body into. It's something that you have to open up to. And that was the first time I was introduced to a style that you couldn't chase.
Mm-hmm.
You can chase running. You can chase dance. You can chase gymnastics. You can push. But the style that she was teaching a very slow hatha movement. It's just a very, very popular style in yoga. So you'll see it. It's really one of the main things you see on Instagram. It's just really, really beautiful shapes, but the people who are moving through them tend to go through them with a lot of ease. And she was teaching a class like that where everything looked easy, felt so much harder, just trying to do basic things. I would be shaking and sweating, and the room was not heated. But I'm shaking and dripping sweat, trying to hold the poses. And these older people are just flowing from one thing to the next. Tessa was in her 40s. She was older at that time to me. And I was just blown away by how easy she moved her body. And I thought, I need to learn how to do this. This is completely foreign to me. I have no idea what it means to release into something instead of chasing it.
I'm with you. I'm all about competition. That'd be rough for me to grab that, mindset.
Oh yeah, go, 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 go. How can I win at this? How can I be better than this over here that I saw last week? Like, by the time I see her next week, I'm going to be able to do this not only like she can, but better than she can.
I'm going to be the instructor in 6 months. Yeah.
It was insane. And it was humbling. It was really humbling. Even at that age, it was really tough for me to sit still and be like, your body is not here yet. Take a minute. Take a breath. You're okay. Honestly, that was the best thing that ever happened to me. And after that, she's kind of like ignited the spark. And then I started seeking other forms of yoga. Then I started going to another yoga class at that same gym that was a power yoga class, way harder, designed to make you sweat. The ease that I was getting from her class was not like this class at all. We would hold poses for incredible lengths of time. You would be shaking and sweating and crying by the time we came out of these poses. And while that was more my speed because it was competitive and everybody in the class competed against each other, while it was competitive, I was still very much drawn to that beautiful, gentle class on Sunday. So I started doing both because what I found is that the gentle class gave me a leg up in the harder class because I could release into things that other students couldn't release into because they were so busy fighting, trying to get the perfect pose or trying to please the teacher.
Well, thank God you started with that one because you might have just gone right for power yoga, been more comfortable and just stuck with that.
It made a huge difference. It taught me a lot. It's the way that I teach now, that the things that you don't think you don't think you need a stretch because you can bench this amount of weight or you can run this distance. So stretching is kind of an afterthought. It's like, 1, 2, 3, stretch. Okay, go. Let me get to the thing that I really want to get to. I've learned that the opposite is true, especially as you get older. The more mobile you are in your joints, especially in your joints, the more limber your muscles are, the more you learn how to release into things, the more prepared you are to do the really hard things later on. You can go back and tap into that ease, tap into that breath, tap into that relaxation to hold something like a one-legged kick for however long you want to have your leg in the air, instead of forcing and forgetting to breathe because you're just trying to power through to make it look good for as long as possible. It's really amazing how you can do really hard poses by releasing into them. Anybody who's ever been in a plank competition will tell you that.
Oh, yeah.
If you relax into the plank, you can hold it way longer. If you power through, you're going to collapse.
That's why the world record is like, something insane, like 14 hours long. I mean,
and that guy's chilling. He's not fighting, because if you're fighting, your body just gives out. You're expending all of this energy trying to hold the pose, and you're also engaging muscles that don't need to be engaged in that pose. So now everything's working. You burn out and you collapse.
Yep. But this way, you learn the correct way. Only use what you need. Breathe through it. Yep. I totally agree.
Relaxing parts of the body to engage other parts of the body is one of the most valuable things I ever learned. And I really think it's one of the most valuable things that I teach. It helps people get out of their own way.
Absolutely. So where did that take you after teaching a couple of those classes at the gym? You ended up opening your own style?
I never taught at that gym. Oh, okay. Crazy thing. I just became like a disciple of those teachers. Like, I followed those teachers religiously. But the thing was, one of them only taught twice a week and the other one only taught once a week. So I started seeking other things, other places. And I ended up at a local studio that offered a free week. And I was like, okay, this is awesome because I don't have to pay for this. So let me go see, what I want to do. And the first class I went into seemed similar to the power yoga class. So I went in there very arrogant, really thinking like, I know what I'm doing. Nobody has to say anything to me. I got this. Now, the difference between the power yoga class and the class at the studio is that the class at the studio was heated.
Oh, there we go.
Whole new ball game. I walked in that room. What can I breathe?
You're not supposed to sweat till halfway through, not 5 seconds in.
It was insane. And it's that much more difficult to hold poses when it's 100 degrees in here. Right now. So I was once again humbled and like, okay, I have to actually learn how to do this. I had really taken to heart the releasing into poses from my very first class. So it got easier to get through those classes. And by the end of that week, I was in. I was like, okay, I need to learn like all the things. The interesting thing about even going to that studio, so by now, because some years have passed, so by now I'm in my 30s. Mm-hmm. The interesting thing is that I was in the middle of a very solid career as a journalist with no intentions of going anywhere. I was on that trajectory. There's just like this corporate trajectory that you're on. I never questioned it. It was fine. This is what I'm going to do for the rest of my life. But I got more and more and more attached to taking class. And the shift happened when I realized that the only reason I was keeping my job was to pay for that membership. Mm-hmm. That's how much I cared about it. I didn't care about anything else. I paid for the membership and all of the things that supported my practice. Everything, my priority shift. The things that I thought I really wanted to do or I really wanted to buy or whatever, those things started to fall away. And I was like, how can I make my practice better? Do I need these blocks? Do I need this strap? Why do I slide on this particular mat? Because it was a hot studio. Some mats you just slide right off of. So I was like, okay, I need a specialty mat. I need to really learn how to grip. Is there a breathing technique that I can learn? So the first thing I started doing was picking up tips and tricks from as many instructors as I could find online. So as much free instruction as I could find, I would go to those YouTube channels or go to those websites and be like, okay, if I do this, I can try that. And I started going to that studio 7 days a week. I never took a day off. I took some format. They offered like 6 different formats. So I took some form of some type of yoga or some type of movement every single day, even if the practice was just laying still. Because they taught a restorative class too, where we just laid still and listened to white noise and kind of allowed our bodies to decompress and to situate themselves. So I kind of got addicted to feeling really good. And the last thing I wanted to do was go back into a corporate environment on Monday.
Yep. You found your passion.
I just count down, like, I don't have to do this. Like, 2 more days and then I'm out and I'm free. Or as soon as I got off work, I would run home, throw myself in my yoga clothes, run to the studio and be at the studio for like 3 hours because that's where I really wanted to be. And then naturally, you get your favorite teachers, right? So I had 3 teachers that I was absolutely in love with. And one of my teachers taught at 12:30 on a Sunday afternoon. And this is important. I adored her. I would not miss her class. I would break traffic laws to get to her class. And one day she comes to me and she used to have this way of speaking where she would just kind of throw the line away. She wouldn't emphasize anything. Mm-hmm. She just throw it away. She just say a thing and you could take it or not, right? And she says, your practice is really good. You should think about teaching. I was in.
Boom. You got validated right there.
Sign me up. I don't care what it costs. I don't care. I was in. And once I got in, there was no turning back. Those years, I took training after training after training, back to back. I never slowed down. Some people take a training, they go teach for a couple of years, and then maybe they think they want to take a different format and they go teach after a couple of years. I sucked up as much information as I could possibly suck up from that studio. And then when I couldn't get anything more out of them, I started seeking outside trainings. Once the bug bit me, I was like, how many other ways can I learn about this thing? And it turns out there's so much knowledge and there's so many ways to teach and there are so many forms that it just never ends. You can learn for the rest of your life.
Yeah, and you can blend them all together too.
You really can. And what ended up happening with me is that the more I learned, the more I diversified my environment. So I came in contact with Pilates teachers, which is how I ended up getting involved in Pilates. Right. And I became what they call a Pilates body for 2 years. So a Pilates body is just a body, you volunteer basically to learn everything for the benefit of this teacher. And then when the teacher teaches, you're the body who does the things.
Gotcha.
So I trained for 2 years with a teacher on every possible machine, learning all of the breathing techniques and the movement techniques, because I was wide open at that point. At that point, I was just a sponge. I was like, teach me more, teach me more, teach me more. And then I remembered in the middle of all this that I used to dance. I was like, wait a minute.
Hey, you're finding little spots you can add this in.
It's like, I can put this together. And that really is how I started to come into my own identity. All of this took place over the course of about 8 years. And I just kept absorbing information and absorbing. I ended up quitting my job. I quit my corporate job in 2017 and became a full-time yoga teacher and opened a virtual studio. And I also sold, I own a skincare business. So I also was like, okay, this is the time for you to just dive in. And then I thought to myself, okay, wait a minute, you make soap and you teach yoga. Like, what, what does this do? How do you put this together? How do you make this one thing? So I took a couple of years to bring them all together. That was 2018 and 2019, and we were flying high in 2019, and I was like, yes, the sky's the limit. We're going to scale. We're going to grow. We're going to open a studio in 2020.
Then, yes. But good thing that you hadn't started it, prior to that happening.
Right.
Almost a blessing in disguise.
Already virtual.
Yeah.
So it was not a big leap. I was very happy that we had really decided, because we wanted to reach people outside of, I'm based in Los Angeles. Mm-hmm. We wanted to reach people outside of Los Angeles. And the only real way to do that was virtually. That's why I started teaching virtually in the first place, because there were so many people that were like, oh, well, can you show me how to do this? And one of the things that I learned, I forgot to tell you why it was important that the 1230 class was a big deal.
Yeah.
I ended up teaching that 1230 class about 3 years later. That was a really, really, really big deal for me. It was very sentimental. That was a class that really woke me up and turned me into the person that I am now. And so when they gave me the time slot, she ended up moving on and opening her own studio. And they gave me the time slot, and I was over the moon.
That's
I was
awesome.
absolutely just elated that I had that opportunity to teach those students, because a lot of those students stuck with me. But back to being virtual in 2020 and 2021, it was a real blessing that I hadn't opened up a physical studio. I was really happy that it was one of those things where 2020, that was going to happen. We were going in that direction. There was no reason not to open a studio. And what we were doing was every month, to kind of drum up promotion for it, every month we would have a movement party. It was always at night. We'd have black lights and glow sticks and flashing rings. It was a huge deal. It was great. Music was pumping. Sometimes we get a live DJ, and we would just sweat until we passed out. March 15, 2020, we were packing up to leave. Everybody had gone, all the guests had gone, and my crew and I were packing up to leave, and everybody's phones buzzed with the alert from the mayor of Los Angeles.
That was on a Sunday, right?
It was on a Sunday.
Yeah, that was on Sunday. I remember.
Curfew was in effect, and the city was going on lockdown. And it was just like, wow, this is real. Like this, we'd heard, of course, everybody had heard buzzes about it, and people were nervous, and nobody really knew and I even had people who were going to come to the class who were like, I don't feel comfortable being in the class. Totally fine. I didn't really think it was a big deal. But when we got that alert, I was like, wow, this is real. This is happening. We have to pivot. We have to pivot.
And you were already halfway there, setting up all your classes.
Immediately we went virtual. And we had all the pitfalls of going virtual. Not enough lighting, sound sucked, the camera fell.
You still need a place to shoot.
But it was insane trying to just get the logistics. But we did. And then I just started teaching privates after that for people who were very, very close to me, not only in proximity, but people who my ride or die students. And when we could get vaccinated, I was like, okay, you can't come to class unless you're vaccinated. It was a big deal. Our whole goal was to keep everybody safe. So we didn't let strangers in. I just started admitting, it is the end of 2021, and I just started admitting new students into the semi-privates.
Wow.
Because we were that concerned about everybody being protected. We just did not want any breakout cases. I didn't want to get sick. If I get sick, I can't teach. If I get sick, I can't work. So that was a really big deal.
Cool. And we'll go into all what those virtual classes are and everything. Oh, that's great. So Shahada, for our listeners who are resonating and want to try this out, what are the best methods to get a hold of you? Instagram, a website? You were just mentioning your email.
Both the website and Instagram are a really easy way to get a hold of me because the messages are instant. I always tell people, if I don't respond to your DMs, it's either I'm not on Instagram at that particular moment or I'm asleep.
And that's Habibi Sport or Habibi Sport Yoga?
The best Instagram, you can get a hold of me at habibibody.com. That's the website. The Instagram is habibibody Sport. And my personal Instagram is Shahada Karim. That is really the fastest way to get a hold of me. It's just my name, Shahada Karim. Hit me up in a DM. I will respond to you. I do consults. Like I said, you can ask me anything. I don't really, I don't believe in stupid questions. Because sometimes people just don't know. And sometimes people are curious and they don't know where to start. So you can ask me whatever you need to ask me. Like I said, I work with a lot of bodies that are not traditionally able. So they can't automatically put themselves in poses or learn how to do things the way a normal able body with no injuries would know how to do. I work with people with shattered spines. I have a client that had shattered hips. She had to get her hips completely rebuilt. People who have knee replacements and hip replacements, and like I said, cancer survivors, that's my base. So if that's something that you think, I would really like to learn how to move my body without pain, I would like to feel better, please hit me up. If you want to drop 20 pounds, hit me up.
Do it all.
I meet you where you are. It really depends on what you need. I don't like to make guarantees and say, if you do this thing, this will happen. First, I got to see you.
Yeah.
I got to talk to you. First, we got to know what's in your kitchen. You know that story. I got to know what you're putting in your body and what you're doing with your body on a regular basis and what you want to be putting in your body and what you want to be doing with your body moving forward. And that's how we build a plan.
That's great. And then also, all my listeners know I'll put all your links in the podcast description. They can just click on it, and hit you up on all those forums.
Perfect.
But thank you, Shahada, for being on our show. I really appreciate it. Learned a lot and can't wait to try one of these sessions out myself. So
yeah, please come on through.
Well, thank you once again.
Welcome. Thank you.